All right, so the second section on conic sections is about circles. And so we're going to be talking in this video about circles and all that you would need to know about circles. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, the definition of a circle, and this is something you should be familiar with from geometry. A circle is the set of points in a plane that are all equidistant from another point. The distance is called the radius, and the point is called the center. And so here we have a circle. Here is the center point, and this distance from that point to every single point around the circle is always going to be the same. So I can go in any direction, and I'll end up on the circle if I'm a certain distance away from that point. So real simple definition, but let's see how the equations are computed. So let's write an equation of a circle with the center at the point 3, 4. So our center is right here at the point 3, 4. And it has a radius of 5. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units down, 5 units to the left, I'm not going to be able to show the whole circle, but if I would go 5 units to the right, I'd be about here. 5 units up would be about here. And that would give me a circle with that center. So in order to do this, we're going to start with the distance formula, because we want to calculate this distance from any point on the circle. Let's say we call this point right here xy. This point right here is the point 3, 4. And so I want to calculate what that distance is, or use a formula to figure out what that distance will always be. So I'm just going to find the distance between these 2 points. So I'm going to plug those points into the equation. I'm going to take my x value minus my x value, that's x minus 3 squared, and then y minus 4 squared. And you can see that's reflected in the equation. And that distance we know is 5. And so it's equal to my distance, which is 5. Well, I don't really like the square root, so I'm going to square both sides. If I square this side and I square this side, then I'll have x minus 3 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals 25. So let's just take a look at this. The general formula for a circle with the center at hk and a radius of r is simply going to be x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And I think this is something that you guys did in geometry. So let's take a look at some problems here. Let's take a look at number 1 first. This is not in that form, so we want to put it in that form. So I'm going to look specifically at this part and at this part. This is kind of done a little bit for us already. If we complete the square here, those are both perfect squares, because the x squared plus 2x plus 1 could be written as x plus 1 squared. Half of 2 is 1, and 1 squared is 1. Plus, that's this plus sign, and then the y squared plus 4y plus 4 could be written as y plus 2 squared. Because half of the 4 is 2, and 2 squared gives me 4. That equals 16. So the center is at the point -1, -2. That's the h and the k, and the radius is the square root of 16. So the radius is 4. So let's take a look at something that's a little bit more difficult. Let's take a look at number 2. We want to find the center and the radius of the circle with this equation. Now this is a little bit more complicated because these are not perfect squares. We have to complete the square essentially twice in order to write it in the form that we want it in order to see the equation of the circle. So I'm going to go like this. I'm going to have y squared minus 4y, and I'm going to leave a space here, plus here's the x squared plus 6x, and I'm going to leave a space here. That's equal to -4, and I'm going to leave 2 spaces. Because whatever I do to the left side of the equation, I'm going to do to the right side of the equation as well. So the first one, I want to write this as y minus 2 squared, because half of -4 is -2. But if I do that, there has to be a positive 4 here, because 2 squared is 4. Well, if I add 4 to the left side of the equation, I'm going to add 4 to the right side as well. Well, then I'm going to go to the x part. I want to write this as x plus 3 squared, because half of 6 is 3. But if I have a 3 here, then I have to add 9 here, because 3 squared is 9. So if I added 9 to the left side of the equation, I'm going to add 9 to the right side of the equation. So that means the right side of the equation, -4 plus 9, is simply just going to be 9. Well, that means that my center is at the point 2, -3, and my radius is the square root of 9, which means my radius is 3. Oops, and I did that wrong. My x value is -3, and my y value is +2. So I did that intentionally to see if you were paying attention. So anyway, I switched those around. So my center is at the point -3, 2, and my radius is 3. Here my radius is wrong. That should be 3 because it's the square root of 9. So, all right, let's take a look at example number 3. So now I want to write an equation of a circle with the center at the point 3, 5. So my center is here, and it goes through the point 6, 1, it's kind of off the graph, but you can see it right there. All right? So the circle is going to look something like this. Well, I know that it's going to look something, I know my equation is going to be x, and then I move 3 units to the right, so it's going to be -3 squared. Plus, I know my y is 5 units up, so it's going to be y minus 5 squared. But what I don't know is what the radius is. So I've got to calculate that distance. And so we've done something like this earlier in the video. We have to calculate the distance between these 2 points. So here's the point 6, 1, and here we have the point 3, 5. So the distance between those 2 points is going to be the square root of, let's do the difference in my x's first, 6 minus 3. 6 minus 3, I'm going to square that, plus the difference in my y's, that's 1 minus 5, I'm going to square that. Well, 6 minus 3 is 3, 3 squared is 9. 1 minus 5 is 4, 4 squared is 16. 9 plus 16 is 25, but I'm going to take the square root of 25, which is 5. So my distance, which is my radius, is 5, which means in my equation here, it's going to be equal to 25. And so you can see I have x minus 3 squared plus y minus 5 squared equals 25. And that's it with circles. So if you need more practice with the circles, you have the homework assignment that you can be doing with the answers there in Canvas, but that is what our topic is for today.